What's up, Kosova? This is Coach Q. I'm your host for the upcoming podcast called Never the Right Time. We are on every Tuesdays, 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. 103.5, 105.5 Urban FM. We're going to be talking all things around health, fitness, lifestyle. Please check us out. Here's a quick shout out to our sponsors, 5-Star Fitness and Onze Recovery. 5-Star Fitness. Goes without saying, we need to be active nowadays. It's a must. And to help with this, 5-Star Fitness, with locations across the country, has established itself as the place to pursue your fitness goals. Now, Onze Recovery, let's talk about stress from daily life, leaving us depleted, in need of that reboot. Onze Recovery offers different types of therapies to help you recover from the daily stresses, especially when we are limited with time. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Urban FM 103.5 or 105.5 FM. This is your host of the show Never the Right Time. My name is Kita Klinger, and I'd like to introduce myself. So first name is a Japanese name. The last name is a Swiss-German name. Some of the questions that I get asked in Pristina, and you might guess some of these, are who am I, what do I do, why do I do it, where do I come from? So I'm going to try to answer these questions as I introduce myself. So what do I do? The short answer is I'm a personal trainer. Why do I do it? It's something that I enjoy, movement, sports. It's something I grew up with and I've been doing all my life practically. And where do I do it? In Pristina, currently in Payton, or Arberia rather, at the 5-Star Gym. So some of you might recognize me, especially if you go to that gym. Already, I have come to realize that Pristina is quite a small community, or it's almost like one big family, let's say. Now, in terms of where I come from, so I was born in Switzerland, in the canton or town called Schwyz. So those familiar with Switzerland, it is very much the heart of Switzerland. And probably if I go there, well, I haven't been back since I was born actually, but people probably wouldn't think I'm actually born there for the obvious reasons. But my father is Swiss, my mother is Japanese. So I come from a biracial household, multicultural, if you can call it that. And I've lived mostly across a few countries, Japan, the US, and Switzerland. So growing up with a father from Europe and a mother from Asia is very interesting. I think I was fortunate to be exposed to different things, certainly different cultures, different languages, different foods. And that has naturally, I think, inspired me to be curious, to explore, to interact, to seek out different things. For the most part of my youth, so after being born in Switzerland, I have spent in Yokohama, which is a city just outside of Tokyo. Pretty big city, actually. It's like 4 to 5 million people. And in terms of what it's known for, just to kind of give you guys an idea, for example, the headquarters of Nissan, the car manufacturer, is there. If you do like to enjoy Japanese beer, Kirin beer is from there as well. And it's actually one of the it's the city when Japan came out of isolation, where Commodore Perry came in with his big black ship, and Japan was then kind of opened up to the world. The year, I do not remember, so my history teacher's probably upset at me. But anyways, so growing up in Yokohama, I went to an international school. This was roughly from the ages of 7 to 18. So again, from an international school, almost started to become, let's say, a product of a third culture. So there I was exposed to different countries, people from different countries, different languages, And I think that fueled also the curiosity to kind of like explore what is outside of Yokohama and certainly Japan as well. And again, I think I'm pretty certain actually that being from Switzerland and Japan, I've been very fortunate to have that opportunity. So throughout my youth, I have also been exposed to different sports, certainly a lot of team sports, as well as individual, but more so different ball sports. So growing up, football or soccer was the sport that I absolutely loved. It was something that I really took seriously, spent a ton of time. And I think like a lot of kids these days, I wanted to be a footballer. So that kind of led me to start playing for a number of teams. And when I came to the point of graduating high school, I had the opportunity to go to school in the U.S. And part of this, so I went to a university called Lehigh University. It's a small school based in the East Coast in the state of Pennsylvania, roughly maybe an hour outside of Philadelphia, an hour and a half. And I chose that school because it had a program of Division I sports. And so if you're familiar with U.S. Sports, there are different divisions. So the big schools are usually Division I schools, and then you have all the way down to Division III. And being a bit maybe arrogant or naive, actually, like I just thought, okay, I want to play for a Division I university team. So when I got accepted to this school as well, I went to the athletic department and asked if I could play for the team. I still remember to this day the ladies at the counter of the athletic department. And bear in mind, going back, so the school that I went to in Yokohama was called the Yokohama International School. Shout out to them. It was a very small school. So my graduating class was 25 kids. I hope I'm not missing out anyone. But anyways, and then moving to Lehigh University, this school was the undergraduate. So for the bachelor program, it was roughly 5,000. So, coming from a class of 25 to be into a class of over 1,000 kids, it was a bit overwhelming. And then also going to a building that was just dedicated to the athletics, it was also an experience. But these ladies looked at me at the reception and they thought I was just lost. They thought I just wanted to play soccer, like people do on a Sunday afternoon. But when I explained that I wanted to play for the team, one was kind enough to say that there were tryouts for the actual team. So long story short, I went to the tryouts. Again, I was amazed that in American universities, like they have different campuses. And this school, they had an athletic campus where, the different teams would play the sports. So I took one of these yellow iconic school buses, not knowing where exactly I was going, but I arrived at the football field. I introduced myself. I went through a number of tests and I made the team. Well, obviously I have to, throw that in there. But it was a crazy experience to kind of play Division I sports. I didn't get much playing time, and I didn't last all 4 years at the university. I did get cut, unfortunately. But to be on a team where everything was sponsored by Nike, for example, where you even had a photo shoot for the team calendar that was a Nike calendar, it was a crazy experience. And so football played a huge part of my life. It was something that I identified with. And when I no longer continued that, it left a bit of a hole in me. So it was kind of like, okay, I used to spend so much time playing this thing, and now I have all this time. And so there was a period of time where I was a little lost. And, I don't say I went off the rails a little bit, but, partied a little bit, kind of figuring out myself as people do growing up, being a teenager to then early 20s, that kind of thing. And it wasn't until I think I had graduated, spent a little bit more time in the US, and then went back to Japan before deciding to live in Switzerland again, in Geneva, where I came across CrossFit. And so some of you might be familiar with CrossFit. There's a few CrossFit gyms here. And I'll go into probably CrossFit another day where, I'm still quite interested in it. I do it myself. It's not my main focus anymore. But through CrossFit, whilst living in Geneva and starting my professional career, so before even becoming a fitness trainer, I was working in the corporate world. I had a number of jobs working for different agencies, mostly in the creative side. So branding, packaging design, digital, you name it. And, that leads me to another chapter in London, where I was living before Kosova. So, but back to CrossFit, it was through a friend that introduced me. She was a coach, and she thought that it could be something worth trying. And before even doing CrossFit, I used to go to the gym, but I think I can relate to a lot of people when you go to the gym and sometimes you don't really have a great idea of what it's about. You kind of go in, maybe feeling a little intimidated because everyone probably is bigger than you or whatnot. But also just kind of, all right, what do I do when I go to the gym? So there was a period of a couple of years, I think, where I think I did a bit of cardio on the machine because I thought that's what you should do in the beginning, and then kind of lifting very inconsistently. And I think some of the lifts, it was like bench press because, well, as a guy, I guess you got to bench. That was kind of the approach. Not warming up, kind of, and then maybe a few leg exercises, reminiscing my days of being an amateur footballer, let's say. So came across CrossFit because I was riding the bus, I think it was to work in Geneva, and there happened to be a CrossFit Geneva, the first CrossFit gym in Geneva. So I was like, all right, screw it, let's do this. And I signed up for the trial, or the initial kind of weekend sessions to go through the basics. And I remember one of the coaches there, his name was John Mann. And he was probably one of the manliest men that I've come across in my life. And clearly it was I think immediately like, okay, this person's probably from a military background, like huge, just jacked, absolutely like a beast. And then like he was going through the motion and then, teaching me the different movements a little bit. And, I was humbled on the first day. I thought like, I play a bit of football, I go to the gym a little bit, like, how hard can this be? And I got put to my place. I was like, oh my God, this is, man, I am completely out of shape. And then that started my journey into CrossFit, where quickly I got hooked on it because a lot of the CrossFit classes, in terms of a structure, you go through a warm-up, you might go through a strength portion or learn a new skill, whether it's gymnastics, whatever. So it's very mixed in terms of the approach, where you're exposed to weightlifting, conditioning, as well as gymnastics, and every day is varied. It was something new, so I felt like it was quite inspiring. And kind of also the social aspect. I think that's what CrossFit really does well is, within an hour, you get put through a tough workout and you're doing it with, let's say, maybe 10 other people. And you start to form a bond with some of these people. And CrossFit Geneva has a special place in me because some of the closest people or closest friends that I have today are from that gym, and one of them in particular is is from Pristina. So that's already a hint of how I ended up in this town. But just side note, going back to Mr. Man, I later find out, I think on Facebook or someone showed me his, this is a bit of a tangent, obviously, because I find it funny. Like, okay, this guy has a military background, and someone showed me on Facebook, like, his profile picture where he is jumping out of like a helicopter into the ocean with all this like a big machine gun and everything. And it turns out, I think the guy is like specialized in Arctic warfare. So, the suspicion of like this guy's a beast was absolutely like corrected. So anyways, now going to back to, I guess, the people I met in CrossFit Pristina, like there at the same time, I started also my, let's say, journey into coaching. So I did my level 1 certificate, which is the first, let's say, chapter of becoming a CrossFit coach. It also allows you to open up a gym, and we can talk about that on another episode. But so yeah, it was, I think, being, for the most part, naturally a sociable person, or, you know, I guess more extrovert than introvert. It was something that I started, you know, wanting to do. And also I found that through the coaching aspect, it held me a little bit more accountable of doing the movements correctly and also understanding them from a different perspective. But I was working a day job, or, you know, a corporate job. So in the beginning it was, let's say, a bit of an uphill battle, because after work, you know, I just wanted to train, you know, blow off some steam, and then that was it. So kind of just because I had a level 1 certificate to be able to coach CrossFit doesn't translate into being a coach. That was something that I quickly realized, where, you know, you have to put in the hours. Teaching is an art. So as much of a pain of the ass I was, and probably still am, like, to different teachers, you know, growing up, you know, I wasn't the worst student, but I think I just have a really newfound respect for anyone in the, you know, who is a teacher, professor. Yeah, like that's an important job. So, not to kind of toot my own horn and kind of put me on a pedestal, like I am still, you know, coming to terms of like my own kind of coaching career, how I want to be, what kind of coach I want to be. Slowly but surely, I do feel like it is starting to kind of find its place, but that's an ongoing, let's say, adventure that I'm embarking on. Now, I mentioned that there was a really close friend from Pristina, so shout out Trimi. He's one of the close friends that I came across CrossFit Geneva. We were part of this 6:30 a.m. class, so I think different time slots, you start to meet the same people, and then, you know, you start chatting, talking, shooting the shit, kind of joking around, that kind of thing. So yeah, we quickly also realized that we worked in the same building in Geneva all this time. So naturally, we you know, we have a lot of common interests. We're both motivated, pushing ourselves through these workouts, but also like to have a good laugh. And I'm a big fan of traveling. Oh, well, who isn't, right? I think most people enjoy traveling. I had this curiosity of like what the Balkans is about. And so I started traveling a little bit into the Balkans, and I think came to a point where, finding out Trimi's from Pristina, I was kind of pushing him to like, hey, let's organize a weekend to Pristina. So my first time coming to Pristina was 2015, 8 years ago. It was around this time, actually. And yeah, had an absolute blast. Met a few people that I am friends with now from that time. And since then, I've been probably coming to this town, yeah, like 8 years in a row almost, for different reasons. But it left a lasting impression clearly on me. And I quickly found out that, it's a place where the quality of life is pretty good. And again, it's not perfect. Then again, where is a perfect place, right? So I think you just have to make the most out of what you have. And I think that's kind of the approach I'm trying to take. But I felt like there was something very kind of startup-like, a lot more upside than I think people give it credit for. So taking a step back before I moved here, Geneva, I decided to leave because I was still very much focusing on my corporate career as, let's say, a salesperson, business development for creative agencies. So I decided to move because Geneva, as much as I love Geneva, it isn't exactly the mecca for, let's say, design or creative agencies. There's a lot of good work that comes out of there, but probably safe to say that it's between London and New York when it comes to agencies in terms of the mecca. So London, being Swiss, I was able to move without any restrictions. So very fortunate about that. And I decided to make that change, leaving CrossFit Geneva, leaving the life I had in Geneva, so starting a new chapter. And that's where I really realized also that fitness, health, sports was such an integral part of my life. Because when, finding a job, obviously, when looking for a place to live, what was actually the criteria is like, okay, where is a CrossFit gym? And so I decided where to live, or pretty much where to work, based on what was available. And so I found a place in Bethnal Green, so it's East London, Hackney, Shoreditch, maybe those names ring a bell to some of you guys. And yeah, basically decided where to live to be close to a gym. So I knew that I could already start to build a foundation. I got a gym. I could maybe build a social circle from that gym. And yeah, that's how my initial years at in London started. Now, London, I spent almost, let's say, 6-7 years, and mostly in East London, but I did experience, because being a city of, let's say, 10 million people, right, there's a lot more choice, whether it's food, gyms, work, certainly. And I bounced around a little bit from different CrossFit gyms and got to experience also different approaches. So depending on that coach's background, then you're exposed to that person's philosophy, approach, different disciplines. Some CrossFit gyms don't just do CrossFit. They offer, calisthenics. They offer even parkour, weightlifting, gymnastics, conditioning. Like, it's almost, you don't have to just stick to one discipline. So that's something that really was an eye-opener. And also just, again, being exposed to different coaches, how they approach it, right? And you also realize that it's a world that's so fast-moving, evolving. I mean, all you have to do is go on, TikTok or Instagram, and you see someone doing some crazy shit, right? Whether it's good or bad, again, that's, the jury's out. But also, I started to get exposed to different programming approaches, different strength approaches, nutrition, like there's a million different diets, these kind of things. And then also like different brands that make different clothing or whatever, right? And I end up, and here I'm also kind of toying around with the idea of coaching, kind of doing it sporadically, helping out at the gym, whatnot, and also, trying to see like, okay, can I, do some competitions, these kind of things. Quickly found out there are levels to this. Just you think you're kind of doing well, and then here comes along someone else that's like an absolute giant, right? Female, male, it doesn't matter. Like strong people are strong. But I come across a gym called Movement Labs. It was formerly known as CrossFit Allgate. So shout out to Movement Labs. That's where really I feel that I cemented my kind of coaching career, if you can call it that, as well as approach. I'm eternally thankful to the team there. So Adam, Travis, shout out to those guys and the rest of the team, even the members. I really hold them dearly. It was a place where I guess they were very open to accepting kind of coaches from different backgrounds, but also it wasn't a place where you could just walk in and hey, I'm a coach. I have my certifications. When can I start? Kind of thing. There was a formal process where you had to learn the ropes, as they say, learn how to coach for that gym. It was it was far harder than the actual CrossFit certification. I was taught how to teach, how to coach CrossFit there. I remember I failed the first time, the test that I had to pass to become a full-time coach there. And the test consisted of being to coach 3 to 4 classes, I think. And Adam and Travis, the head coach and owner, they had their, criteria. I remember they're holding up a board, and there's a 3-page paper going through, interaction, coaching cues to time management to how was the atmosphere, everything that you think would be needed in a class, right? So, and I think you were only allowed 3 mistakes, and so you had to really be on top of your game. So failed it, went back to kind of shadowing the different coaches, kind of just studying the points of performance of the different movements, how to do them correctly, how to cue people, coach them, all this kind of stuff. And then I passed on the second attempt, and then I started coaching at a much more regular manner. And still, I was working a corporate job. And so it was either after work, even before work, weekends, whenever I could spare a few hours and help out the gym. And here it was slowly but surely coming to a point where I was at a crossroads where I think maybe some of you, maybe if you're not happy with your current job, but you also have a side hustle, it's kind of like you're in this one step in, one step out. And I knew that deep down with the corporate job, I wasn't happy. And so I think it gets to a point where eventually, how much can you tolerate being kind of stuck versus being scared of making that leap and changing directions. And it got to a point where I think I was coaching enough hours that I realized that I could probably survive. I could more than survive in London. And so I decided, screw it, we're doing this. And I left the corporate job to be able to coach and then also start to personal train as well, which that was also quite the interesting learning curve because it is very different, like one-on-one versus coaching a class of a certain discipline. Again, it's different. So yeah, that was sort of really where, okay, we are going to go all in on this. And I haven't looked back since. I think it's a decision that I'm very happy with. Of course, every day is a challenge, and it didn't come without a struggle where, you have to have certain adjustments. Certainly, have to be more frugal and conscious of money a little bit more, where, London's working up to a certain, let's say, position at a global agency. You realize also you're addicted to a paycheck and a certain, let's say, standard of life. So, there was maybe an adjustment of like, okay, what do I really value and whatnot. So, but yeah, I'm super happy in terms of like what I've decided to do. And I think also a couple years, not too long afterwards, we all went through the pandemic, and that's where it really hit home in terms of like time doesn't stop for anyone. Unfortunately, it's like one of the most expensive commodities, right? And I kept asking myself, like, there was a couple questions of like, what do I want to do with my time, and who do I want to do it? Like, who do I want to spend it with? Where do I want to do this? These kind of almost existential questions, I guess. And yeah, that's where it was like, okay, yeah, this is really what I want to do. I don't want to spend any more time doing something that I don't like. Now, of course, there's going to be days that aren't rosy, but it was sort of, I think I reassured myself in terms of like, this is what I want to be doing. And so that's part of that. Why do I do this? And another aspect of that is that I feel that like through the coaching that I do, what I do on a daily basis is something that keeps me honest, keeps me, accountable. I think when I was working the corporate job, it wasn't that I wasn't honest, but I think there was a part of me where it's like, this isn't really what I want to be doing. And I think that was eating away at me, slowly but surely. So, that's sort of the kind of, I guess, drive and passion that I still hold to this day, when it comes to the coaching and like sort of, the whys, right? That question. Now, Kosova. So I've moved here last year, so it's been over a year that I've been living in Pristina. Why have I come here? And that's probably the probably most frequently asked question with people that I meet and interact with. As I mentioned earlier, I find the quality of life pretty good here. For the most part, I think we can live comfortably on, a fairly reasonable budget, right? Now, I know that's all relative to everyone, but compared to London, for sure. And I felt that living in a large city like London, I was paying sort of almost a passion tax to be able to do what I want to do. So there was, as much as I enjoyed being with Movement Labs and, personal training there as well, I felt like I was still part of this system where chasing like, to make rent and all these bills and all this, like, how many clients do I need to, how many hours? And there was a part where also I felt like I could get comfortable with that, and time would just keep going on. But I still wanted to keep growing because there's just so much to learn. And I think it feeds into this slight imposter syndrome that I have, where who am I to be able to coach someone? But gradually, more and more, as I gain experience and help people and, help them become stronger, like, I do feel like I'm gaining that confidence as well. But anyways, Pristina offers me, I think, the time to almost buy back time. And I, over the last few months and building up my own business, in terms of like my clientele as well, and starting to work with clients long-term in a regular manner, it's an environment where I feel like I can still grow in many ways, learning, the local audience, the local population, what fitness, gyms, health is about here, right? And then also to be able to kind of continue my own learning, to expand those horizons, not to sound too cheesy, but I don't have all the answers. I never will, but I want to be able to, train and become stronger myself and prepare for those, let's say, years where, much older, and then also to be able to ultimately help people. And every client that I work with is a different puzzle that I need to solve, and especially do no harm. Like, people come to me because there's a problem, and I'm trying to help them as much as possible, and I cannot make them worse. So that's something that keeps me on my toes. It keeps me humble, but at the same time, it's this environment where I feel like with the drive, hard work, the effort, and keeping an open mind, I can still continue to grow. So that's a bit of a long-winded answer of why I'm here in Pristina, in Kosova. And now I've been presented with this opportunity to have a platform through this podcast, which I'm super grateful for. And through this podcast, what I'm looking to do, or what's going to happen, let's say, is I want to be able to, and this is a bit selfish, but I want to be able to be inspired, maybe even inspire, speak some truth. There might also be some untruth, so we're going to get fact checked maybe, but also connect with like-minded people and foster an environment where, we can strive to be a little bit better each day, make ourselves stronger. And so I intend to have a number of guests talk about all things fitness, and health, lifestyle, and ultimately have a good time. So thank you for listening to the first episode of Never the Right Time, an introduction about myself. And please keep on listening to Urban FM 103.5 FM, 105.5 as well. Thank you.